Just don't say anything you don't want your mama to hear before we kick off the thing.
All right, I'm ready to record when you are.
Cool.
Ready?
Yep. All right, guys. Welcome back to Split Decision. This week, episode 74. So we're talking UFC Vegas 102. Jared Cannonier, the Killer Gorilla, taking on Gregory RoboCop Rodrigues.
Sounds like a Godzilla movie, RoboCop versus the Killer Gorilla.
It could be a Warner Brothers classic. But first,
In the Monsters universe, is that what they call it?
Monsterverse.
12-fight
card total, 6 prelims, 6 main card. What we're talking is the 6 main card. Then at the end, we're going to go through all of our picks. We're going to bring 4 picks of our own this week.
Pick your own picks.
For the first week of season 3, because there are no more footballs. And then we'll give you all the bets, 3 bets as always. All right, let's start off at the beginning. How was last week with the UFC? How'd we do?
It was a eventful card.
Yeah.
Not the best card.
I was camping. Unfortunately, I had no cell service. And I was accompanied by Happy Dad. So I don't remember a thing.
Not the best card in terms of like fights you'll remember forever, but it was 2 champions put their stamp on their belt. I think Dracus.
He's getting better.
He's getting better, and he really solidified himself as like, hey, I know everybody talks shit about me. I'm not that good. I'm unorthodox. I lost to Sean Strickland. Well, I didn't lose this time. He dominated Sean Strickland. Pretty much, he didn't make him quit, but he made him quit, if that makes sense.
Right. He actually beat him.
He was dominating the whole fight, and he was hurting Sean so bad. Sean refused to even like change his game plan, even though it wasn't working. And then Zhang Weili just proved how great she is.
As we already knew.
Crazy. She was the underdog coming into this fight against a girl that's fought like twice in like 2 years, although undefeated.
Injuries.
But very in a very one-dimensional fighter. Zhang Weili showed that there's levels to this and dominated Tatiana Suarez. Other than that, there were a few good finishes, a few boring fights. I would say 312, UFC 312 was probably like a C plus B minus card.
Cool.
Watchable.
Like
not one you're going to go back and watch.
I like it. All right. Let's talk bets. How'd you do in bets last week?
So the bets, I did 2 wins, 2 draws. I'm sorry, 2 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw.
What was the draw?
The draw was the literal draw in the UFC fight card.
Jimmy Crute.
Jimmy Crute versus Bellato. I had Bellato winning.
Nice.
He didn't win.
But nobody won.
Nobody won.
So at least you got your money back there.
I did. And I also, in my 2 losses, I had the Chiefs minus 1.5.
Man.
They lost by 20 points.
They were absolute shit.
Yeah, it was crazy. We've seen the Chiefs lose, never seen them like that.
Yeah.
And then I had Jack Jenkins, who got submitted.
Second straight loss in Australia.
Second straight loss, which is tough because I like Jack Jenkins. But I did win 2.
I had actually both of those bets with you. I had Chiefs money line, or you didn't have Chiefs money line. You have Chiefs with the points. I had Chiefs money line and Jack Jenkins money line. So I lost both of those.
I did win Zhang Weili plus 100. So plus, as I said, I can't believe she was plus.
Yeah, right.
So I won that one. And then I had the 48.5 over for the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles almost did that by themselves.
Yep.
Thankfully, they let the Chiefs score a couple late touchdowns to solidify the over. But yeah, 2 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw.
I went 3-2 overall. I had Tom Nolan. So I got 3-0 on UFC, or I'm sorry, 3-1 on UFC, 0-1 on NFL, or the big game if you have to say that for copyright reasons.
You can say NFL, you can't say.
Never mind. Chiefs money line. There you go.
Super Bowl.
Chiefs money line. I lost that one. I lost Jack Jenkins. I did win Tom Nolan at plus 115. Zhang Weili at plus, what was it, 110 or 100?
Yeah, I had plus 100 for him.
And then Taliesin Teixeira dominated the big man. Like you said, 32 seconds in. It was a wipe off clean. So 3-2 for me. I went plus. It was a good way to end the season. We'll get those results out pretty soon. Let's talk about what we're here to talk about. The featherweights, Connor Matthews versus Jose Delgado.
Yeah, this is for this week, UFC Vegas 102, you said?
102 in the Apex, back at home where we belong for a little while. What you want to say about it? Featherweights.
So Connor Matthews, Jose Delgado, excuse me. Delgado making his UFC debut with an 8-1 record. He's finished every fight he's won. So 4 KOs, 4 decisions.
I like
4
somebody who
KOs, 4 subs.
I like somebody who can mix it up like that.
The only time he's ever been to the scorecard, he's lost. It's
Right.
1 loss. And he's taking on Conor Matthews, 7-2 overall, but he's 0-1 in the UFC. He got knocked out his first UFC fight. He was also one of the rare guys coming in. He was 1-1 on the Contender Series, where he lost his first Contender Series fight by decision. He came back after a couple fights, won the next one by decision.
Yeah.
So not the most impressive Contender Series record, but he came in and, as I said, he got knocked out his last game. He has a sick ground game, though.
Yeah, he does.
So, yeah, it's 2 guys we don't really know that much about. Obviously, the UFC likes one of these guys because they're putting them on the main card of this event.
I think that guy's Delgado, honestly.
I think it's Delgado, too. I think Delgado, he seems like the more well-rounded fighter. Matthews,
6 years younger, 2 inches better in reach, 2 inches better in height. He's more well-rounded, where Matthews has not one-dimensional, but he's a clear, better grappler than he is striker.
Delgado can beat you anyway.
Right. He's proven that, although on a regional circuit, he's making his debut, like you said, Matthews has proven that twice, 2 out of 3 times where he's been, pulled up at least close to the UFC, like you said, 1-1 in the Contender Series. He lost in the Contender Series, and he's lost his official UFC debut. So does he have what it takes to, beat a regional newcomer? I don't know. I don't think so, to be quite honest with you. I have Jose Delgado winning this fight, to be quite honest. By decision, probably.
Delgado did his last fight was Contender Series in August. He had a 2nd-round KO. So Delgado's been there, done that, everything that Matthews has done, succeeds a little bit more. He's won 5 straight. I think everything points to Delgado in this, and I'm going to go with Delgado as well.
Sweet.
Jose Delgado winning over Conor Matthews. Let's move on to the next one.
People we know a little bit better.
The black belt hunter, Rodolfo Vieira, however you say his name. Andre Petroski.
Yep. So this one I have Vieira is 2-3 in his last 5. He has 3 sub wins in that time. So he's kind of hunting that. He has 9 career subs, 1 career KO. So he's 5% finish rate in his wins.
He's 5-2 in the UFC, all by submission, all of his wins by submission. So, and even one of his losses by submission. So he's a guy, right. He is a clear.
He's obviously one of the strongest grapplers at middleweight. Yeah. Like, regardless of where you put him, he's got that part covered. Petroski, on the other hand, he's dynamic. Overall, he's the better striker here.
7-2 in the UFC.
Yeah, it seems.
We've seen him a lot,
but it also seems like he should be older than 33 when I look at him. Like I feel like not even anything against him. I feel like when I see him, I've seen him for so long, he shouldn't just be 3 years older than me.
And he's 7-2 in the UFC, as I said. He has 3 finishes, 1 KO, 2 subs. He's never been subbed. He's 12-3 overall in his career. He's never been submitted. So it's kind of two opposing styles going against each other.
And like you said, he has subs of his own. With Petroski and Vieira specifically, Petroski has the gas tank where I think Vieira does not. We've seen him get gassed in the past, later in the fight. So with somebody who can grapple with him, I think it's going to be hard. And I think I have to lean with the underdog, the sizable underdog at this at almost plus 200. I have to lean with Andre Petroski winning this fight because of Petroski's overall better at striking, better gas tank, and ability to grapple with the best of them.
I agree with you. I got Petroski too. Both guys do come in 2 straight wins. Petroski's never been subbed before, though. I think that's going to stay true. And I think Vieira, his obvious path to victory is submission. That's all he's done in the UFC. Petroski, if he can avoid the early round, first round, early second round sub, as you said, make this fight go longer.
Drag him into hell.
I think Petroski's going to win. I think he does win. I got Petroski, and it's probably going to be by decision, in my opinion.
I agree. Let's go lightweights next. Ismael Bonfim Marietta.
By the time we watch this fight, he'll be the second Bonfim fighting. His brother is fighting in the prelims.
Spoiler alert. Nazim Sadykhov, the Black Wolf. So these two, Bonfim is a very clean striker. He picks his targets. He throws very good combinations. He has an awesome, KO win over Terrence McKinney, that you want that on your resume. There's only like 2 guys who have it. He's smart. He's got great movement, footwork. Sadykhov has KO power in either hand. He can knock you out whichever way he sees, but he's a little less technical in my opinion. He's kind of not throwing things out there, but he's throwing more looping punches as opposed to Bonfim's targeted strikes and stuff like that. Sadykhov holds the grappling advantage in my opinion, where, Bonfim's strong takedown defense could neutralize that whole part of the game plan.
One crazy thing, Bonfim, he's 2-1 in the UFC. So he's won 2 out of 3. He's won 14 out of 15 of his last fights. His only loss was to Benoit Saint-Denis. Mm-hmm. So not a bad loss to have, especially if it was when Saint-Denis was rising.
Right.
Both of these guys, though, it seems like they've been around longer than each only have 3 fights in the UFC with 2 wins. I think it's going to be a very interesting fight. It has the potential, because of how exciting both guys are. Both guys like to get finishes. Potential to be the best fight, most exciting fight, most watchable fight on the main card.
Yeah, I agree. Who do you have winning it?
I think it's going to be a close fight, but I'm going to go with Bonfim. I think he just is a little more well-rounded. Yeah, I got Bonfim.
I agree. I have Bonfim. I think it'll be a decision. Honestly, I think the key for Bonfim to win is to keep the fight standing, neutralize Sadykhov's grappling, and, evade and conquer. Moving on. Middleweights.
I think this middleweight fight
of the night?
No. I think it's almost opposite? No, because I think it's going to be something's going to happen.
Okay.
It's going to be loser may be cut from the UFC.
And why is that? Because Shahbazyan's...
Well, we go Shahbazyan. He is 13-5 overall, but he's lost 5 out of 7.
Yeah.
He seems like he's 6-5 overall in the UFC.
He's been finished. What?
He seems to be finished a lot. He came in the UFC early, had a lot of hype behind him. He struggled since then after his quick start. And he's taking on a guy in Budka, Dylan Budka. First of all, his nickname is the Mindless Hulk. The Hulk's already mindless. So what does that tell you? And then you look at his record. He's 7-4, 0-2 in the UFC, 2 straight losses. He's been KO'd. So I think a guy, if you start 0-3 in the UFC, you're probably not going to get a 4th fight.
It's hard for sure.
Shahbazyan, as you said, as we both said, his trajectory has been down lately. If he loses this one, he's lost 6 out of 8. I don't know. I think both of these guys desperately needs a win, and I think that's why the UFC booked this fight. It's because it's going to be 2 guys that are desperate, and their desperation is going to match each other.
I like that. So let's talk about points of weakness. Shahbazyan, he's lost, what'd you say, 5 of his last 7?
5 out of his last 7, correct. And 3 of them by KO, 1 submission.
In a few of those fights, he's been taken down like 4+ times. Yeah. So he's got a clear, hole in his game that he needs to shore up if he wants to stay in the UFC. Take a look at Dylan Budka. He averages 2 takedowns a fight. He's got 2 career subs, not a lot of experience, but 0-2 in the UFC. That's a tough swing. Budka has obviously
his last fight was a loss to Petroski too.
Right. Budka needs to be careful not to get caught because Shahbazyan does have power.
That's one thing you could. 4 out of his 6 UFC career wins, knockout.
Right. So that's the one thing you got to pay attention to there. Both guys, honestly, they have to make it an ugly fight. They got to do things that they're not.
Both these guys got to fight for their careers.
Literally. So I think Edmen Shahbazyan is going to dig deep. I think he's going to catch Dylan Budka, who's going to be trying to shoot for a takedown because he sees that hole. And I think Shahbazyan, with that power is going to shine through right here.
I agree with you. I think Shahbazyan lives to see KO. Another UFC fight, lives to see his career progress or at least stay alive. Mm-hmm. I think Budka loses, goes 0-3 in the UFC, and that might be the last time, at least for the time being, that we see him in the UFC.
Let's talk featherweights on the co-main event.
Speaking of a guy whose career has once promising career has kind of fallen lately.
Yeah, you're right. Kattar taking on the second time stint in the UFC.
And he's making the most out of his second time.
Youssef Zalal.
He's 6-3-1 overall in his career, Zalal.
Which it's crazy because both stints in his UFC, he started 3-0.
That is true.
So this could be the turning point. Does he do like he did last time and go 0-3 in his next 3, or does he continue his rise?
But I will say he's been on a different. He's 3-0, as you said, since
with 3 submissions
since he came back, and he had 2 fights in between. 3 fights in between. I'm sorry. So he has 6 straight wins, 5 of them by finish. As you said, 3 straight submissions in the UFC. He's never been finished. He's still only 28 years old. So he's a guy, he has a lot of time in front of him, Zalal. And he's taking on Calvin Kattar, who's 36 years old. Kattar's 23-8 overall. But this was one of the most surprising records I've seen. You think Calvin Kattar, if you're a moderate UFC fan, you know him. Right. You've probably seen him fight a few times. 7-6 in his UFC career. He's lost 3 straight, 4 out of 5. But listen to he's lost 4 out of 5, but listen to the guys he's lost to.
I was about to say, give the dude some credit for dying on the hill to legends.
He lost to Max Holloway. He lost to Josh Emmett, Arnold Allen, and then Aljo. So those are definitely not bad losses. But
so I have something to say about that.
I think that Max Holloway fight changed him forever.
So while he's historically been one of the most powerful boxers in the featherweight division and yada, 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 he's got a great jab and footwork. He's durable. You're leaning into what I'm about to say. That comes at a cost. Over time, you've taken a lot of damage. Calvin Kattar has gone to the decision a career 16 times. Won 10 of them, lost 6 of them. This is a problem when you're fighting somebody like Max Holloway
or Josh Emmett,
who has crazy power.
Arnold Allen, who has crazy power.
Right.
Sterling, not so much because Sterling took him down a lot.
Right.
But those other 3 guys, that wears on you, especially when you're 36 years old and you fought
you're on the
30 plus times in your career.
Right. All of that to say, you have a fresh 28-year-old second stint with a fire in his ass.
So he knows what it is to be cut, and he doesn't want to be cut again.
Right. That's exactly what I'm talking about. He's a high volume striker with in my opinion, a slight edge on the ground. Honestly, age and cardio aren't going to be a huge factor in this. It's going to be how much damage Kattar's taken over his career. I see Youssef Zalal winning. It's hard to say that Calvin Kattar is going to be knocked out because it's so often that he doesn't. Like, he's only been knocked out once in his entire career. But he's
only been submitted once too.
But I think at any point in time, those stats are going to climb if he stays in the UFC. It's just bound to happen. So I don't want to just guarantee a Youssef Zalal finish, but with a -450 money line, the odds are leaning like Youssef Zalal is going to walk through Calvin Kattar on Saturday night.
I'm going to pick Zalal too, but I actually think his streak of finishes ends.
You think a decision win?
I think Zalal decision wins, gets the UD over Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar's moved to 7-7 if he loses, which is just crazy to think about.
Right. It is crazy to think about because he's a great fighter.
Yeah. I mean, at one point, that Max Holloway fight, he beats Max Holloway. Like, he legitimately probably gets a title shot.
Right. He was like if Max Holloway would have shown him how to box 3 rounds sooner, his whole life could be different.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the main event, and then we'll talk about other things after that. The middleweight division, Jared Cannonier, the killer gorilla, at 40 years old, stepping in to stand on his game against Gregory RoboCop Rodrigues.
Dude, RoboCop looks like he's 45, but only 32 years old.
That is one of the things that blows my mind.
32 years old. That was crazy.
So he's barely in his prime, which is scary. Because look at him.
He's been going crazy. He's 7-2 in his UFC career, 16-5 overall. Out of his 7 UFC wins, 5 KOs. So he's a guy, we've seen him. He has crazy power. He can fold guys. He's won 3 straight and 5 out of 6. He's also finished out of his last 5 wins. He's finished 4 of them. So he's not.
Yep.
So RoboCop is like on the form of a lifetime. He's on his run right now to try to get. The question is, how long can you make your run last? And he's taking on Jared Cannonier, who, if you look at his career, it seems like his run has ended the past couple fights. He's lost 2 in a row. He's 10-8 overall.
It's hard for
a couple of years ago, had the title shot, lost to Izzy, won a couple fights between then, and now he's lost 2 in a row. So it's like, where do you go from here at 40 years old?
So it's hard for somebody like Jared Cannonier, because when you're somebody with power like him, who was at one time a heavyweight, like in size.
Yeah.
He lost damn near 100 pounds, to fight in middleweight, and he has massive power. So at 40 years old, you can't count the man out. But it's tough when the dude fights so many damn main events that are taking him 25 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's really wearing on him more, as opposed to Kattar, who's just getting damaged all the time. Cannonier's winning fights and losing decisions or losing late knockouts like he did to Imavov. And those fights...
Now's not a bad loss.
Right. Those fights wear on you in a different kind of way. He holds a 2.5-inch reach advantage to Rodrigues. So it's going to be, one of those fights where it's exciting. We're probably going to see some crazy clashes, if not a knockout.
It's going to be some good stand-up fighting.
But Rodrigues, in his own right, kind of gets crazy sometimes. We've seen him get caught. We've seen him get clipped and get completely... his face get exploded out. And he's like laughing. My fucking eyebrows don't exist anymore. So he gets into those exchanges where he can get caught like heavyweights damn near. So it's tough. Both guys are, a duality in the grappling exchanges. RoboCop sports a good grappling offense if he chooses to do it, but he doesn't often commit, where Cannonier has great defense. So like you said, I think it's going to be a stand-up fight where Rodrigues probably wins because Cannonier's going to fade late.
Yeah, I'm going with the guy with momentum. We've seen Cannonier. His last 2 fights have been against up-and-coming guys. Imavov, as we talked about, he lost it. Controversial stoppage, but he was losing the fight.
It was going to be a loss either way. And
his last fight against Baraujo, same thing. Rising guy. Lost the fight by decision. I think this is another one of those. Rising guy. Rodrigues is getting to the point where if he beats Cannonier, he's, especially in this division, sniffing possibly a title shot in a fight or two. Yeah, because you like you're saying, you're on your rise and you're on the heels of somebody. So you have Imavov there, you have Baraujo there. They're all hunting for title shots right now, but anything that if you fight too close to somebody else, that rules you out of a title shot like that. So somebody in the top 7, top 5 at any point get called up for a title shot. And it's not really up to whether you deserve it all the time. Yeah. So, I think we know the next title is going to be DDP versus Hamzat. But
and I think that'll be a crazy fight.
Yeah. I don't know what's going to.
So let's talk.
So that's
Gregory RoboCop wins.
Yeah. I got RoboCop as well.
After that, let's bring our own picks. Actually, before we bring our own picks, let's recap all 6 of our main card picks for UFC Vegas 102, Cannonier versus Rodrigues.
Yeah, so I have, starting from the first fight.
Now we're here.
Jose Delgado, Andre Petroski. I got Ismael Bonfim, Edmen Shahbazyan, Youssef Zalal, and Gregory Rodrigues.
Nice. I have Jose Delgado, Andre Petroski, Ismael Bonfim, Edmen Shahbazyan, Youssef Zalal, and Gregory Rodrigues. I should have just said ditto. Nice.
Yeah.
All right, let's bring our own picks. I'm going to go first because I'm kind of staying in the same vein. I'm actually staying in the exact same vein. I'm bringing 2 prelim fights, brothers of others UFC fighters.
I mentioned one earlier.
Quickly, Gabriel Bonfim is taking on Khaos Williams in the welterweight division. This is one because I always like watching both Bonfim brothers, and they often fight on the same nights. I'm going with the favorite here, Gabriel Bonfim, both Bonfim brothers to win. Spoiler, that's probably going to be a bet of mine. I don't know. And then the other UFC fight I'm taking is another UFC brother to another guy, Johnny Walker. Valter Walker taking on Don'Tale Mayes. I'm going with Valter Walker to redeem himself after losing his 0 last year. And Valter Walker is going to win. After that, I'm going to go to the Genesis Invitational to talk a little bit of golf because I did fairly well on that last season. Or 2 seasons ago, I should say. So let's start. I'm going to go with at the Genesis Invitational, Rory McIlroy finishing in the top 10. Reasons being, typically where the Genesis Invitational has been, he's only scored in the top 10 like once. LA Fires have caused it to move to a different venue, better golf course. Rory is off of a win at the AT&T Pebble Beach. When he was playing his Scottish, and all his heritage things overseas, Hero World Challenge and such, he's been playing way better than he did last season. So on this one,
his marriage, that's what happens.
I'm telling you, when you don't have stress at home, you can do your job very well. Rory McIlroy, top 10 finish for those reasons. He placed top 5 in 21 and 22, top 20 in 19, 23, and 24. So top 10 finish for him there. And Jason Day to get a top 20 finish at the Genesis Invitational. He's had several top 10s, throughout the years. Not on this, but just several top 10s in his recent scorecards. Third in the Amex, 19th in the Hero World Challenge. He's had a better short game recently. I'm going with Jason Day for a top 20 finish. What are the 4 games you're bringing, sir?
So I got 3 soccer and then 1 hockey, 4 nations tournament.
What is a 4 nations tournament?
So instead of this is actually a good idea. The NBA should probably follow suit. Instead of the All-Star game,
okay,
the NHL is taking like a week and a half off, and they're doing the 4 biggest countries are playing a tournament at NHL players.
For a trophy.
Yeah, USA, Canada, Sweden, and Finland.
Cool.
Normally, Russia would be in this, but there's
kind of rocky
because they have
right
like
now.
this, they're right up there. But yeah, so those 4 teams play for the tournament or play for the World 4 Nations Championship, whatever you want to call it. But let's start with soccer. I got 4 soccer. First one, if you followed us, you know what I'm going with the first game. Arsenal goes to Leicester City.
Of course.
Arsenal second place right now in Premier League. Leicester 18th. Arsenal is minus 400 favorites. Leicester plus 800 underdogs. They played in September. Arsenal won 4-2 at the Emirates Stadium in London. I'm going with Arsenal over Leicester. So that's my first pick. Next pick, staying in England. Aston Villa, 8th place in the Premier League currently, hosting Ipswich Town, who's 19th place in the Premier League. Aston Villa minus 230 favorite. Ipswich Town plus 550 underdog. They also played in September. 2-2 draw at Ipswich, but this one is in Villa in Birmingham, England. I got Villa winning. Aston Villa. Then we're going to go to Germany. The top team in Germany, Bayern Munich, goes to the number 2 team in Germany, last year's champion, Bayer Leverkusen. Munich money line plus 120, Leverkusen money line plus 210. They've actually played twice already this season.
Mm-hmm.
In the league, September, they drew 1-1. In the German Cup, Leverkusen actually beat them 1-0. So Leverkusen's kind of had their number out of the last 5 matchups they've had. Leverkusen hasn't lost. I think they have like 3 wins, 2 draws. I'm sticking with Leverkusen to win. So I got Leverkusen money line. Those are my soccer picks. And then we're going to go hockey, as I said, 4 Nations tournament.
That is a good idea, by the way. That does make sense. It gives you some actual competitive, play instead of some bullshit that just doesn't matter.
Instead of the All-Star game where nobody plays defense. But yeah, we're going to go the 4 Nations tournament, the opening game for the United States, the U.S. playing Finland. The whole tournament's taking place in Montreal, too.
Cool.
U.S.
A good Canada town.
Yes, good hockey town. U.S. is minus 310 favorites. Finland plus 250 underdog. I got the Americans beating the Finns. So yeah, my 4 picks: Arsenal, Aston Villa, Bayer Leverkusen, and U.S. hockey.
Cool. And I'll recap mine real quick. I got Valter Walker, Gabriel Bonfim, Rory McIlroy in a top 10 finish, and Jason Day in a top 20 finish at the Genesis Invitational this weekend.
Okay, let's give our 5 bets, Alex, and then we'll get out of here. I think I'll go first.
Yeah, that's cool, I guess.
I have 3 UFC.
You're going to do better than last season?
Hopefully. 3 UFC, 2 soccer, 2 units on everything. Let's start with the UFC. I got RoboCop Rodriguez at minus 190. I got Ismael Bonfim at minus 160. And I got Andre Petroski plus 180.
Yeah, I like that.
Then we're going to go soccer. I have Aston Villa at minus 240. And then I'm going to throw 2 units on Bayer Leverkusen at plus 210 to beat the Bavarians. So, yeah.
Sweet. I have Gabriel Bonfim moneyline minus 245. Ismael Bonfim moneyline minus 192. Gregory Rodrigues moneyline minus 230. Andre Petroski moneyline plus 172. And Jason Day top 20 finish plus 110. All 2 units on all of them to start off season 3. Yay.
Well, yeah. Check us out next week. We're going to have episode 75. We're going to have pick your own picks.
Mm-hmm. Is there a fight?
I don't know if there's fight card.
I
If
can't
there is a
recall.
fight card, we'll talk about it. If not, we'll have 10 pick your own picks.
Hell yeah.
Either way, check it out.
There is a fight card. Cejudo versus Song. Oh, Henry Cejudo versus Song Yadong.
With a crowd too.
Yeah,
It's in Seattle.
It's in Seattle, Washington. You're right. That'll
So,
be
yeah.
a fun one.
That's next week.
Sweet. Peace, guys.